hijo de puta. So Finn is gonna do it for me. Finn's arm is mint!
So the Black Phone 2 is confirmed, but we're thinking it might mess up the original movie's ending. Plus, the way the Black Phone ended could actually cause some issues for the sequel. Let's dive into everything we know about the next movie. The Black Phone 2 is on the way, following up on the 2022 hit horror flick, The Black Phone. There's already a lot of buzz about what's next with the grabber making a return. The first film got great reviews, with Ethan Hawke's villainous role getting a lot of praise. Even after its release, the movie kept people interested, with hints about a sequel from Derrickson, Hawke, and Hill. The Black Phone is based on Joe Hill's short story about a 13-year-old kid named Finney Shaw, who gets kidnapped by a serial killer called the Grabber. Given the original story setup, there's definitely room for a sequel to dive back into that creepy world. Derrickson, Hawke, and Hill have all shown interest in making it happen, and now it's officially confirmed that it is in the works. Even though everyone was buzzing about the sequel to The Black Phone for a while, the latest update is that its release date is getting pushed back. It was supposed to hit theaters in June 2025, but Blumhouse and Universal have now moved it to October 17, 2025. The delay isn't surprising though, since horror films usually do really well around Halloween. No word there is no reason why the treason change occurred, but Blumhouse and Universal are pretty known for tweaking their schedules. To really get the sequel rolling, Ethan Hawke will be back as the Grabber in The Black Phone 2. How he'll return after his death in the first film is a mystery, but villains are hard to keep down. The main cast from the first movie will also be returning, which is cool. We don't have any plot details yet, but director Scott Derrickson mentioned in a 2022 interview that author Joe Hill has some intriguing ideas for the sequel. Derrickson teased that Hill pitched a great sequel idea and that he'd love to make it happen if the movie does well. We don't know exactly what Hill has in mind, but the story leaves plenty of room for possibilities. Maybe the Grabber's victims will find a way to affect the real world from the afterlife, or the sequel could dive into the Grabber's backstory and explain what makes him tick. While nothing's set in stone, it sounds like The Black Phone 2 is shaping up to be a thrilling and creepy follow-up. While The Black Phone was originally meant to be a standalone horror film, there's been a lot of buzz about a sequel due to its success. However, the movie's ending wasn't designed to set up a follow-up, which could create big issues for the potential sequel. The film did exceptionally well, making $152.8 million worldwide on an $18 million budget and earning solid reviews with an 82% critic score and an 88% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Despite its success, the ending of The Black Phone felt pretty final, with Finney defeating the Grabber with help from his victims. So, bringing the serial killer back for a sequel might be tricky. The movie already had supernatural elements, like Gwen's prophetic dreams, so there's a chance the Grabber could return in a way similar to Michael Myers. But resurrecting him needs to be done carefully to avoid making it feel cheap. Another idea could be to turn Finney into a new Grabber, but this would need to be handled delicately to avoid undermining the original film's impact. Overall, the ending of The Black Phone leaves some significant hurdles for a sequel that would need to be navigated thoughtfully. The Black Phone isn't just another Ethan Hawke horror flick, it carries a deeper message about the power of community in fighting against abuse and violence. The film highlights how terror can be overcome through collective strength, suggesting that no evil is too great to be vanquished when people unite. The ending of The Black Phone underscores humanity's need to combat evil, even if it means reaching out beyond the grave. So while it's a horror movie, its core message is one of hope and the power of overcoming darkness together. There were quite a few changes from Joe Hill's short story to the movie adaptation of The Black Phone, especially in the ending. In the short story, Finney only talked to Bruce on the phone and had no tools to help him escape. He managed to dig a hole in the ground, which the Grabber fell into and then strangled him. The film took a different approach, showing Finney escaping from the Grabber's house and resolving his relationship with his father. The movie also introduced a new dynamic, including a second house where the Grabber kept and buried his victims, which wasn't part of the short story. Additionally, the film's ending gave Finney a more complete resolution, including more courage related to his crush and improved relations with his father. Another major change was the removal of the naughty boy game from the story. Instead, the grabber in the movie starved his victims. These adjustments gave the film a more rounded and satisfying conclusion compared to the short story. At the end of The Black Phone, Finney kills the grabber and escapes, finding safety with Gwen and a police escort. The film wraps up with Finney getting closure with his family and the grabber's victims finally finding peace. A sequel that brings the grabber back would undermine this satisfying conclusion, especially if it involves him surviving his death or being resurrected in some supernatural way. While the grabber could join the ranks of iconic horror villains like Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers, The Black Phone doesn't set up a return for him. The story's supernatural elements, like the victims communicating with Finney, were tied to their unrest, which ended with the grabber's death. For a sequel to work, it might need to introduce a copycat killer or an accomplice rather than resurrecting the original villain. A prequel to The Black Phone might be a smarter move than a sequel, especially since the original film wrapped up the grabber story and Finney Shaw's arc. Unless a resurrection twist, like in the Halloween films, is introduced, there's not much left to explore with the grabber's character. A prequel would offer a fresh perspective by delving into the grabber's origin story. It could feature a younger actor to portray him in his early years, leading up to the events of the original film with Ethan Hawke's portrayal. This would allow fans to explore how the grabber developed into the character we see in the movie. Origin stories for iconic villains like Hannibal Lecter and Morgan Bates have proven successful, and a prequel could attract both horror fans and Ethan Hawke enthusiasts. If directed with the same skill as The Black Phone, with tight pacing, engaging visuals, and a similar tone, a prequel could set the stage for a franchise that dives deep into the grabber's psyche and background. The film's narrative could be crafted to interweave seamlessly with the events of The Black Phone, creating a cohesive and expanded universe. By maintaining the gripping pacing and eerie visuals that made the original film so effective, the prequel could capture the same chilling atmosphere while offering new layers to the story. In this way, a prequel not only provides a fresh take on the grabber's character, but also preserves the impactful ending of The Black Phone, avoiding the pitfalls of a sequel that might undermine its conclusion. It could set up a franchise that explores the darker corners of the horror genre, keeping fans engaged and eager for more. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Do you think a prequel focusing on the grabber's origin would be a better move than a sequel? Or is there another direction you'd like to see the story go? Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below.